Thank you very much, Your Excellency Ato Ahmed Zakaria, Acting Director of the Institute for Ethiopian Studies at the Addis Ababa University, and my friend and colleague Tom Shosha, who is Country Director of the British Council, and distinguished guests and members of the media. I'd really like to thank the Institute very much indeed for kindly hosting this event, and I'm delighted to be here to help launch these joint photographic exhibitions. First of all, Danziger's wonderful Between Heaven and Earth photographs, but also the photographs which are commemorating the 50th anniversary of the state visit to Ethiopia of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, and my remarks are really going to focus on the second of those. The long-standing relationship between Britain and Ethiopia, which has already been mentioned, also started with a royal dimension 7 centuries ago, back in the year 1400 according to the Gregorian calendar, when King Henry IV of England sent a message of greeting to the then Emperor of Ethiopia, Dorey III. And there were many subsequent contacts, most of them extremely friendly. I will leave on one side the imprisonment of our consul by Emperor Tedros in the 19th century, right up to the resumption of relations between the two countries and regularization of those relations when they entered a new phase with the opening of a formal British diplomatic mission in Addis Ababa on the 1st of March 1896. And around this time, His Majesty Emperor Menelik II treated the British and other foreign representatives in Ethiopia in the same way as he did his important nobles. And as was traditional, the Emperor allocated stretches of land for their tents and horses and personnel wherever the itinerant court stopped. And as we know, the temporary stop in today's Addis Ababa became permanent when eucalyptus was discovered, providing all the firewood and building material that were needed. And so the present by the Emperor of the compound where the British Embassy is now located also became permanent. The current residence was built in 1910. It must have been one of the first stone-built constructions in this city. The relationship between both countries continued to strengthen from then on, with the exception of the period of the Derg regime much later. British businesses were very much involved in the early 20th century Ethiopian economy. So Shell was distributing petrol and petroleum products for many decades. Britain established cotton plantations at Tenderho, and British firms were consulting here on irrigation schemes, hydroelectricity, construction, and in other fields. Pittards were buying hides from here, and De La Rue was supplying currency well over 100 years ago. And as is well known, His Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie was warmly received in exile in the UK in the 1930s, and we were very close allies during the subsequent Second World War. The names of Wingate and Sanford are, of course, common currency here even today. And I'm proud to say too that Britain has made an important contribution to Ethiopian education over the years, particularly after Emperor Haile Selassie determined that the direction of travel would be English rather than the French language. The British Council has now been here for over 70 years. Many Ethiopians have studied in the UK, including 2 Prime Ministers, Lij Ndalkatu Makonnen and Lij Mikhail Imru, and a one-time Foreign Minister, Dejazamach Zalde Gebre Selassie, who all went to Oxford University, which was a very good choice, I may say. More recently, many ministers, including Prime Minister Meles Zenawi, studied at the Open University. And well-known artists, Mengistu Lema, Ethiopia's first major dramatist, World Laureate and Maitre artist Afewerk Tekle, and a number of other cultural figures also studied at other British universities. In 1954, His Majesty the Emperor paid a state visit to the UK, which also included visits to Bath and Oxford, a debate in Parliament, and lunch at number 10 Downing Street. At a banquet held in his honour by Her Majesty the Queen, she said, "We greet you as the sovereign of an ancient Christian state which has many links with our own church, and as the sovereign of the country which was the first to regain its freedom during the last war." The Emperor responded, "Your support and the loyalty of the British people make today the preservation and the strengthening of that friendship and affection a sacred trust." On the 1st of February 1965, Her Majesty the Queen started her return 8-day state visit to Ethiopia, an extraordinarily long time for a state visit these days. She was warmly welcomed by crowds of Ethiopians, as you will witness soon when you see the photographic exhibition. I particularly like the video of a children's parade at the welcoming ceremony in the Addis Ababa Stadium. And it's wonderful to see coverage of the visit in Addis newspapers from 50 years ago. In Addis Ababa, Her Majesty the Queen attended the opening ceremony of the current municipality building at the invitation of the then Lord Mayor. She also visited Addis Ababa University, General Wingate School, Princess Sahe's Hospital and the Tenderho cotton plantations. And she then travelled to Bahia Dar and visited the Blue Nile Falls, Gondar, Asmara and Axum. While in Axum, having visited the obelisks, she inaugurated the new church of Axum Zion Mary. And at the end of her trip, she returned a crown of Emperor Tedros, taken to Britain by the Napier expedition almost a century earlier. You will recall my earlier reference to our poor consul. This extensive and well-received state visit to Ethiopia was a key landmark in the history of our two countries, and it set the tone for the close relationship based on mutual respect that we have today. When I met Her Majesty before coming here as British ambassador, she told me how well she recalled the visit and what a great privilege it had been for her to be in Ethiopia. Today, the bilateral relationship is much more varied. Ethiopia is the UK's biggest development partner in the world, and a large part of this assistance goes towards improving educational levels in the country. British investment in commerce is growing in leaps and bounds. We work closely on regional security issues, on climate change, and on global sustainable development. And through Chevening, the UK's flagship scholarship programme, we provide awards for young and talented Ethiopians to pursue their graduate studies in the UK. His Excellency the Deputy Prime Minister Demeka Mekonnen, Minister Akaba Okaboy, and Ato Lidetu Ayolu are among the successful candidates who have benefited. Applications for scholarships in academic year 2016-17 are open until the 3rd of November, and so I encourage anyone who might be interested to visit the website before this deadline. Just a word on Between Heaven and Earth, a photographic project commissioned by the British Council from the world-famous British photographer Nick Danziger, who's visited Ethiopia on several occasions and documenting the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Christian communities. The project began in 2007 when Ethiopia was celebrating the millennium, and it's been all around the world, exhibited in London, Jerusalem, Ramallah, Nablus, Bethlehem and Ethiopia. Nick returned here, I think it was to mark your 70th anniversary, to capture Orthodox Christian festivities in a new series of images. And this exhibition projects a selection of the final set of images on a loop, and with a narration by Nick himself as he recalls his photographic journey. I'm sure you'll agree with me when you've seen it, it's really breathtaking work. This exhibition opens to the public for 6 months starting today. I really hope, and I do expect, that you're going to enjoy it. Thank you very much for your attention.